Hello my BMX friends. As you know, my name is William Prince. I've been in BMX since 1974 here in South Florida, and I want to go over a couple newspapers that was local here in South Florida, starting with the County Wheels. This issue here is County Wheels, Volume 2, Number 7, May 1978. As you can see on the cover, which is kind of bent, but we'll fix it, that's Jamie Burrows, Mark Moorhead. This is, I think, at BMX 84. And then you have these guys here at Sarasota. I'm sure it was a national because the kids are running their 1977 national plates. Then down here on the bottom you have another Mark Moorhead crash with a Brad James, he was on DG. He was one of the fastest kids in the area besides Seth Boucherie. And this here is Seth Boucherie's and Sam Boucherie's dad. This track, I don't know where it's at. It looks like it's Lake Park in Tampa. So let's get into the paper here. As you know, most of this paper was both BMX and motorcycle. So it has a lot of motorcycle stuff in here from back in the day. You have Superbike Mike, which was like a dragster, Superbike Mike Keat. And then you got a lot of ads in here for motorcycles, which you have Larry Seipel. Larry Seipel used to play for the Dolphins. I think he was a punter, but I'm not sure. And you got more of the motorcycle ads and paper. I'm sorry, articles. And then we get to the BMX, which is, this here is the NPSA Regional in Sarasota. They used to have a race called the King Neptune, and it was usually in April, and this was always at Sarasota. So as you can see, people lined up against the fence. Then you have Seth Boucherie. He was always national number 1 or state number 1. I believe this is a Danny Spahn that raced for Dan's Bike Shop. And I think this is a Fred Canary, which Fred Canary raced for me for a while on the WP team. Then you have all the winners from that day. They had an open division, they had a qualified division. If you didn't have enough races, you raced the open division, which I raced the open division because I didn't qualify. As you can see, I raced 15 and up junior, which is Billy McDonald and the late Brian Esser came in second, and I came in third. I beat some big names like James Mustang, Carlos Alvarez, Pepito, David Perkle, the Seegers, and Gary Miller. And then you have the expert class, which was Brad James. That was the biggest class that we had back then. And then in the qualified, you had like 15 expert. You had Seth Boucherie, he always won. Nathan Cole, which I was always scared of these guys. Mark Moorhead, Denny Peterson, which I think he's still around here. He might be racing still. And a Jerry Noten, which I'm not familiar with. But there's a lot of good riders from back in the day. And then this might be Bobby Coon, but I'm not sure. And I think this was at Ives Dairy or CB Smith Park. That's where this was. Look at that. You can get a GCS alloy bar for $7.99 at Wheeler Dealer. And South Florida Kartway was one of the raggediest go-kart tracks around, but we had a BMX track there, which was almost like a goat path. It was a small track, but it was a place to race back in the 70s and early 80s. And then here you have Sarasota, this is my buddy Jim Mustang, got ran over down the first straightaway at Sarasota. Sarasota used to have a long first straightaway, and these tires all around the edge. If you got push off the track, you hit those tires and then some flips. Then you have Danny Perkle, which is, they call him Alan Perkle, but I think his name is Danny Perkle. He was a big dude. I hated racing him because he would run into you and like kill you. And then here's NPS 84, which was BMX 84. This was my first track I ever raced at. The first race was at 11, and it was $1.50, and you raced for a ribbon. And then at 3 o'clock, you raced for a trophy. That's when the NBO guys came in, like Greg Esser, Brian Esser, Nelson Fulcher, Timmy Judge, all the hot shoes. And NPSA was like a sanction where if you bumped somebody, you got put back to last place, and you know, it was just kind of like a sissy sanction back in the day compared to the NBL. NBL, the riders would knock you down, and you know, so they were like the rebels of BMX back in the day. Then you have this guy here. His name, I forgot his name, but he ran the swing shop down in Miami, and he set off, or had one of the biggest BMX races around back in the day. I forgot what the name of that race was either, but remember, I'm 62 years old now, so I forget things. LOL. And then you have Bobby, the 5x5 day photographer. He took a lot of pictures. He was like the Tom Izor of the 90s, or 80s and 90s. And then this look at all these bike shops back in the day. You had Wheeler Dealer, Bicycle Peddler, Perkles. Perkles was one of the bigger shops down in South Florida. Billard's Hobby, Cycle City, Better Bicycles, Johnny's, Bike Scene. Look at all these bike shops back in the day that carried BMX. It was crazy how many bike shops there was. They always had a team, or they always had what models they carried. MCS, Bonsai, Gold Coast. And then we always used to have like an expert thing. If you turned expert with the points, you got a plate and you got your picture in the paper, which Jamie Burrows, he received his expert plate from his dad. I think they're both deceased now, but God bless them. And then you have Sam Bouchery that got his #1 plate, and that's Mr. Perkle, which he ran a successful bike shop and had a great team. I even rode for Perkle's bike shop back in the day. And the late Sam's dad, Mr. Bouchery. Then you have Kevin O'Connor. He was a fast kid, but a quiet kid. He got his #1 plate. And then Kevin Benoit, which he got his #1 plate, and he was also on Perkles. Perkles had a lot of good riders. Then you have Dave Levine from Wheeler Dealer, which he was the best bike shop around, had all the cool stuff. He had the factory teams like R&R, Webco, Thruster. He had all the big names come in. Place for Wheels, which was Bill Green's bike shop. He was a big help to the Kendall track down there, and he ran a successful race team, Place for Wheels, which won a lot of NBL titles throughout the years. This is that swing shop I was talking about, Bicycle Center. He's the one that did the Orange Bowl Classic. That's what it was. How can I forget that? And then we had the NPSA news brief, BMX, when it started to race at Coral Springs back in the day. There was an interview with Greg Esser by the great late Brian Webb about his racing history and stuff, which was very cool. Then you have Neil's Wheels, which he was one of the ones that ran the first thruster team down here. Timmy Judge rode for them for a while, and he had a lot of hot riders on his team. And actually I ran into Neil not too long ago. He does the same thing as me. He does home remodeling, which is pretty cool. And you get a Cook Brothers stamp for $19.99 at Wheeler Dealer. How crazy is that? Then you got the race results every other week or so. I think I'm in there maybe once or twice. Here I am, 15 junior. I got 2nd place. Woo! And I know there's a couple other ones that I got in here. But I really wasn't that good at racing, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you. I was a better team manager than a racer. And then you got a bunch of this stories from Central Florida. The youngest BMX rider around, Sean Reynolds, or Shane Reynolds, however you pronounce that. Then you got Billy Comer. He was one of the first MPSA #1s. Marcus Padero, this kid was like unbeatable. He was from Sarasota. He raced for Alice in the Haps team. And speaking of the Haps team, here is the Haps team. Back in the day, run by Alice. Even Alice Bixler raced back in the day. She ran the track, ran the gate, and everything. You have Bike and Trikes over there, and I think they were in Sarasota also. So there was a lot of bike shops throughout the Florida, actually all of Florida, not just South Florida, but a lot were in South Florida too. So that's a look at this paper from May 1978, County Wheels. And then I'm going to close it out with the inventory clearance sale. Get your poop, bicycle, BMX, and your 10-speed from Neil's Wheels. Thank you for watching, and hope you like this video. And I know it's a rough video. It's my first one ever, and I will post more and get better. Thank you.